Hey, what's good? It's gonna be a quick Diaries of a New DM video. I was just an unedited. I'm just gonna tell you real quick. We did have a session this past weekend, and as I mentioned in my previous videos, we were going camping, and the plan was to do just a little one shot for everybody at the campground. And depending on how many people were interested in playing, it was myself. I was definitely going to DM, and then I had another guy from my DM group that was camping with us with his family. He was going to run the same scenario simultaneously with myself if we had a lot of people that were wanting to play. But this video is just going to be really quickly discussing like one shots and new players. And I say new players, but I mean, coming from the guy that's run maybe 10 scenarios, 10 sessions of D&D ever. But still, though, we had a good time camping. And the weekend, I mean, it was really good. We were there from Friday evening through Sunday morning. So the plan was to play a little one-shot scenario on Saturday evening. And just a couple things about that. It was super fun. We had a couple kids in the group play with us, and a couple of the guys that haven't really been able to play with us yet, even though they've wanted to in the regular campaign. But the only problem, and I wouldn't even really call it a problem. We had a good time. It was pretty late at night when we started, though. So we didn't start till, I know it was after 9, and maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. So it was already kind of dark, which was fine. But the kids were kind of restless, and the parents were kind of like, how long are you going to be? Because we want to get them to bed. And that was totally understandable. It just worked out. We were all hanging out a lot and just sitting around the fire, eating dinner and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't really get started till a little later. But again, it was a good session. But my thought for the one shot, coupled with new players that are kind of interested in playing D&D, the one thing I want to mention is with those one-shot scenarios, I didn't even look. I mean, I kind of perused online to see if I could find anything, and I really didn't. But it's not hard to throw together, or at least it wasn't hard for me, to throw together a little one-shot scenario for everybody. And my idea was to keep it simple and relatable. And I've heard this in other videos before. If you're running a one-shot or you're running a little campaign for new players that are trying to get their feet wet, see if it's something they'd be interested in, to have something clear, concise, and relatable. So my story was just to have these adventurers already knew each other. I had them start at level 4, which got a little confusing for some people because at level 4, I didn't really think of this, but there's a lot more abilities and stuff that they could learn and spells they need to know and stuff. But my buddy, who was going to DM alongside of me, which ended up he was able to play, he had printed off pre-gen characters with info about all their spells and what they did. So that was really awesome. I'm glad he did that, so we didn't have to sit and look up stuff in the manual. And we didn't really have much cell service out there either, so it wasn't like at home when we were playing we could just look stuff up on Google to see, you know, what does this spell do or what does that effect do. But I kept it relatable. So there are all these adventurers. They started in the Great Hall of the King, who was celebrating not only the peace that has been enjoyed throughout his kingdom due to the help of these fellow adventurers along with others, but they were also celebrating his daughter, the princess's 18th birthday. And during this feast, everybody, at the peak of the celebration, everybody was fat and happy and kind of drunk on wine. This witch appears out of nowhere up and grabs a hold of the princess, along with a bunch of her goblin cohorts that are causing chaos and keeping all the mighty adventurers distracted. The witch spouts some nonsense about, you know, finally coming to power or needing the, you know, blood of a virgin or whatever it is. And she disappears with the princess. So long story short, the king, you know, everybody gets their wits about them again, and you know, there's food spilled everywhere, and the tables are upturned, and the floor is covered in this slime of food and wine, and everybody's distraught. The queen is just beside herself, and the king stands up and bellows, you know, to whomever returns my daughter to me unharmed, they shall never want for anything else in their entire life. And so he basically charged the adventurers, please go find my daughter. They went around town real quick to gather some supplies. The king gave him his signet so that they could gather supplies without really having to purchase much, if anything. And they gathered their supplies. They gathered some information, And while nobody had heard tell of this witch, they all kind of agreed that they have never heard of any witch that hasn't come from the woods. So they went into the forest, and I had to condense things down because it was getting late. So unfortunately, I told them I don't want you to feel rushed, but at the same time, I was trying to kind of move things along, and we had 7 players. So to add enough enemies that it would be a somewhat of a challenge, or at least even make it all the way around the horn so everybody could get a turn in combat, I wanted to keep it a challenge for them, but also I wanted it to be done in a timely manner, because with 7 players, just a simple interaction, just a simple encounter can last a long time with 7 players, especially with some new players who don't really know what they're doing. But all in all's well that ends well, really. They made it into the forest. They found a hut, the witch's hut. They went in through a trap door. They fought some goblins along the way. Found a trap door in the witch's hut. Went down in there, and we had one big encounter with some bugbears and some goblins and hobgoblins and stuff like that. And that was the main encounter of the thing. Actually, by the time we finished that, we had to wrap up. So I finished the story for them, and I told them, hey, you find the witch. And the plot twist that I was going to have on this one-shot was the witch was actually, in the monster manual, she's a night hag. So she had the princess under her spell, and long story short with that, they were going to have to fight the princess because she was under the witch's spell. So the princess was going to be consider them as a threat instead of a rescue at first. So the goal was to kill the witch first before killing the princess, so they don't have to kill the princess. And if they did that, then they would get the full reward and the thanks of the king and kingdom. But if they had to kill and didn't realize that part of it, they would kill the princess first, then of course the kingdom would be grateful that they rid them of that threat of the witch, but they wouldn't quite get as much favor from the king, of course, because unfortunately his daughter was dead. So we didn't really get to reach that point. I had to explain all that to them, but they did get a good fight in with the goblins and bugbears and stuff that were down in the witch's lair. So all in all, like I said, we had a good time, and people that played seemed to have a good time and all of that. So I would call it a success. But either way, again, really, what's the word I'm looking for? It really proved the point that with new players that want to do a little one-shot to just kind of sit down and have fun and play a game, the damsel in distress, rescue the princess from the evil witch is something everybody can relate to, even the kids, with Disney movies and stuff. That's a common theme. So again, all in all, we had fun, and we're not going to be able to play this Saturday. What with July 4th is this week, and people have plans and stuff. I don't believe we're going to be able to get a session in this weekend. So again, we're going to have to wait another, basically 2 weeks again to hear about what happens with our current company in the overall campaign that we have going on now, which I still haven't named. I would like to name that campaign something. I don't know. If you guys have an idea, if you guys have watched my videos and you have a good name that would really describe or at least sound cool with the overarching theme from what you guys can gather, I'm not going to give anything away for the future, of course. But if any of you guys have an idea for a good name of the campaign that we have been running and I've been talking about in previous videos, I am all ears, because I can tell a decent story, I feel like, but coming up with creative names is so difficult for me sometimes. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and thank you for watching again I didn't want to set up my camera. I was kind of lazy today, so this is a ye old school quality video from like my first few. So anyways, I guess I will talk to you guys again in a couple weeks. Thanks. Wait, how do I turn this thing off? There we go. Bye.